Hey everyone, it's Joe Glines here in Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, and Jackie here from Copenhagen, Denmark.
So a few minutes ago, we've been talking about stuff, and I don't remember what led exactly how we got into it, but it started to get interesting. I'm like, let's just stop talking and we'll start our conversation. Jackie, you were mentioning I was talking about, hey, other programs typically when people buy them, they're bought for a particular to solve a problem that something else they don't already does, right? They'll buy it and they'll do it, and often with AutoHotkey, we're not always doing that. We're speeding up our work and how we do stuff, and from there, that was where Jackie, you were having an idea of explaining something, and I was getting it, but let's start it again there with
Yeah,
what you
and
were saying.
again, I'm hit by the same thing. I don't really know the thought process I was going down exactly, but as you explained, people would go out and buy something for, let's say, making graphics for a video because they want to make better graphics or whatever. But if they're already making videos, or if they're making transcripts, or if they're making a script for their video or whatever, or if that's their job, or if they're somehow the face of the company outwards, or a secretary, or whatever they are, making their boss buy that tool so that they can make better graphics, that's a thing they can go and say.
Yeah,
But taking the step and thinking about optimizing what they're already doing, like if they're typing out a transcript, or if they're whatever they might be doing that could most likely be helped by a script, thinking that the 2 hours I'm using on this task, if we make or buy or hire someone to automate that, that's a totally different thought process from actually thinking, oh, this new thing I want to do, I don't have the tools for. So it's not the same mental exercise, I think.
I get part of your point too, and is also if you're really worried about, I might end up shooting myself in the foot and losing payable time, right? But yeah, I do get your distinction now of yeah, see, I get where you're coming from. Where I was after when you this is I remember when we were talking earlier. What got me thinking about it? I was like, this could get really interesting. Is I think there's also a huge bias in that the way I'm doing, it's like a personal bias, right? The way I'm doing, I'm a smart person, and I am already working fast, and I'm not going to question anything that I'm already doing because I'm smart and I figure out a way to do this, and I can just work fast and get it done, right? But they're not going, they don't even examine their own processes and stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Because of that self-belief that like I know what I'm doing, and this and that, right? It's like maybe not, they don't really think maybe there's a better way out there and I can shave off a bunch of time, because it doesn't even dawn on them, right? Of like, this is a given kind of thing.
yeah, and I'm thinking about a specific colleague I have where the person is working through the task of making like these descriptions of stuff made in within a specific template. So it's a matter of just getting it typed and structured and getting it done and stuff. But even the tools that is done in the Office pack or whatever, not even those are utilized in any significant way, right? It's uh, typing and setting in of images and stuff like that. Even if you had a really well structured template or
Yeah.
something that actually took care of half of what you did, you could probably get it done even faster. But not even that is utilized because I can just type it and then
It just takes a second. Yeah.
Where is it that I insert an image? Oh, I insert an image over here. Why is it moving my text? That's irritating. I know. Drag it and I'll do stuff. It's like, yeah, but you're using time each and every time you're making one of these on doing those very small tweaks. And if I was actually recently asked at work, it's a pending task I have of taking a piece of Excel data that comes in, all kinds of stuff, and I can easily enough click on create pivot table, drag 3 of the things, a filter, a row, and a column, and I actually have the data in a nice graph that I already, as soon as I've built it, I can just copy in new data and everything will look great. But apparently, me building that, or it was the steps I talked about, so it was almost nothing, but it was still a thing. But I wanted to say, okay, now it's done. I've set it up. Here's the Excel file. Please copy in the new data on this sheet over here, and it will work. But apparently, it was still a bit too complicated. And that's because when they go to the web interface and download a new data set, opening that, copying it out, opening the other one and copying it in was apparently...
It's way too much. What was that first step?
It was a bit over the top because, and I understood because in the first thing, I just made an example with a smaller data set. So the small data set had maybe 200 rows or whatever. So that was what the pivot table was built for. So when I showed it to a manager, well, this and this and this, and copied in a new data sample, that data sample was, of course, bigger than 200 rows. So not everything showed up in the graph. So I needed to right-click on it and define a new data set range that I then just set to 64,000 rows or whatever I set it to, right? It doesn't really matter. And that made it like, that blur, that eye blur that happens where it's like, no, I can't figure that out. It's like, but I have made the setting now. You don't need to focus on the thing I did there. It's mute. But yeah, I'll make a small AutoHotkey thingy that will make it do it by pointing at the new data set instead. So
Anyway, that is funny though.
There's a story just to kind of explain that if you're in a mindset where something like that might be over the top, going and thinking about the thing that you received an email and you put it into whatever and you answered it because something, and then you told someone else about it. That's your job. That's your task. You only use 25 minutes from start to finish. Thinking that could be automated into something that takes a second. But what are you then going to do with those 25 minutes? So unless you have something that really is pushing you to get more done, you're still paid for those 25 minutes.
Honestly, that was another point, which I don't think we mentioned it earlier, but when you and I were talking earlier, that jumped in my head of like, you're not footing the bill, right? You're getting paid to do the other work. So you're less incentivized. Because with me, let's talk through what I was talking with you when we first started earlier was, I've been pushing more videos, more content, actually trying to make like a business kind of thing. And so when I create a video, I have to create the video, and then I have to put in an intro and an outro to it, and then I have to upload it to YouTube. It has the title and the description and whatever. And then I have to go usually create a post in WordPress and do that there. And then if I have code in it, then I got to put that into GitHub and to create a gist. And I started streamlining of like, okay, which of these things can I automate? And then even the thumbnail, which we were talking earlier, right? That's when I was getting
Yeah.
really excited of like, I can start identifying those things, which is what you mentioned earlier of like, here are these little pieces and they're going to go in all these places. And I'm getting jazzed because I'm like, I can crank down how long it takes me to nothing, right? I've already automated some of these processes and a few of them, but once I get to hook them all together, I don't think it's because of what I've learned in AutoHotkey. I think it's one is, and you mentioned this earlier. I think I don't remember if we were in the call recording or not, but it was the people's knowledge base of what can even be automated in the first place. And if they don't have any awareness to it, that's another barrier, right? Of them grasping what really could be automated. And for me, that part I've got, right? I've got a really great, although like talking with you and the other guys earlier on that thumbnail, because I don't work with images. I wasn't sure of what could be automated in creating that thumbnail for YouTube for the overall thumbnail. If that could be done, I was surprised that you guys saying like, if we keep it kind of generic, yeah, we probably could, right?
Maastricht, who was kind of pushing the GDI plus idea, and that is at least one way of making something that's fully automated, where you would have, let's say, a simple AutoHotkey thingy that said, select 3 images, or maybe it was even a GUI, whatever, how simple you want to make it.
Right.
Select 3 things, one that's your face, and one that's the text, and one that's the background, and then it will draw them over each other, and you have a nice looking thingy. Or go with some tool that someone built, whatever, Photoshop, GIMP, whatever it might be, and have a template that you like to edit, like many people do. So have 3 layers, just to describe it. One for the background, one for whatever you have on the right, and one for the text. And then it's a matter of every time you want to do a new one, edit the text or edit the icon or edit the background or whatever it might be. But it's the same template, it's the same font, it's the same sizes. You can reduce it way down in time spent, but you need to have the template first. So yeah, there's a good amount of ways to go. And even in, let's say, Photoshop or whatever it is, I know I used the example at one point, when you make like a software box, you can get a project for Photoshop that will do almost anything, all the steps for you. You select the front, the back, no, the front, the top, and the side, perhaps, I think. Those 3 images. And then there is a macro thing built into Photoshop. So then do all the shading and all the screwing and all the alignments and all of what you have, and then you have a 3D box, and you only told the 3 images, and then it made a 3D box. So you just gave it 3 2D images, and you ended up with a 3D product, which to me is also something that's interesting, right? Because something like that could also be the thing you needed, depending on whatever the complexity of the imagery you wanted to make. Let's say that all the text had weird shadows that needed to be rendered each time, stuff like that, or whatever it might be.
Anyway, yeah, let's not get too far off. But it boils down to, and clearly that one, like it was outside my area of knowledge. So it is a good example of, I didn't think, I went to Fiverr and tried a couple different people to see what they would do. And I didn't care spending a few bucks to just get some ideas. But I knew no matter what they came up with, I was going to say to you and to Maastricht, because both of you guys work with images, be like, hey, can I create something kind of, close to this without paying someone to do each one? That sounds like probably yes.
And as you said yourself, that's the mindset, right?
Yeah.
Where some of the people I work with, they don't even consider to build an automation tool in a office product.
Yeah.
So let's say Word or Excel or whatever have this powerful tool that can even record what you do to recreate it. And I would say for years now,
Yeah.
I've not met a person in person that used it.
Yeah.
Which to me is like, I've been back in office for what, 10 plus years, and no one.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
it's such a powerful tool,
So,
and it's so little utilized that Microsoft is even moving away from it with their browser-based versions because people ain't asking for it.
I can actually add to that specific example, Jackie, earlier today, because I'm updating my thumbnails for my, videos, and I happen to be scrolling through and seeing, which ones because I have a general thumbnail for my Excel videos, and I have a video showing, and it was like, use the Excel macro creator to write your AutoHotkey syntax. And then I looked at the views, and the number of views it had were so few, and I'm like, this is sad. I'm like, I really got to do some work, to push people to this, because it absolutely agree with you 100%. It's such a great, easy thing for like, well, if I want to program AutoHotkey, but I can't find an example in the forum, hey, you know what? I'll record a macro and I can get the VBA code. And then, it's so close to AutoHotkey, it's ridiculous. Unless you're doing some other complex like array function, sometimes they'll come up with something. I'm like, yeah, that's harder to adapt. But the vast majority is like, oh, swap out the equals with the colon equals. Oh, yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, and it's a COM language, or it's almost built for that specific purpose to interact with COM objects.
Yeah.
And so you want to do something robust and complex in AutoHotkey with Excel and an internet browser? You have half of the work done almost by just utilizing the parts of the Excel macro creator, right? It's
all right. Let's wrap this one up, just because I know we've gone way out there, but it was all sort of relevant to each other.
Yeah, we try.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah. It's good talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Go. Yeah. Bye.